All right, well, after 8 seasons of use, we finally have an issue. And I'm recording this on my phone because I didn't want to set up the camera. I want to catch this, make sure I'm catching it right now. You can see right here, the fan is on 5 and you can hear me. So clearly the fan is not on 5. And if we go and we click this manual down to 1, you can hear something change, but not much. Now, if we click this, really, the fan is really not doing anything. So let's do something different. Let's go down to blower voltage. This is kind of an important screen. You shouldn't really mess with this, but if we high temp alarm, well, look at that. We just got a high temp alarm. That's because it's not exhausting the air, because we're not blowing the air. So the high temp alarm, which I've never seen before. So fire off. So, okay, so this is important, is that you have a high temp alarm because this thing heated up so high and it wasn't exhausting the air. It has to exhaust the air. If it's not blowing air out, then we have a problem, right? So there's 2 ways that this thing can shut off. Like negative pressure from the exhaust, or no negative pressure this way. It's not reducing the pressure by exhausting the air into the room. And that will make it so that you have a high temp alarm. I've never gotten a high temp alarm before, ever. So 8 years, this is the first time this has happened. So I think what we'll do is I'm going to let this cool off. I'm going to unplug it and then plug it back in. And this was just working just now. So my wife is using it today. She turned it off. She was leaving and I was pulling in at the same time. And when I came in, this was in its shutdown phase. I hit the power button and there's a 30-minute delay. If you turn it off and then you try and turn it on again, it's a 30-minute delay. So when I click the button, it's at 14 minutes. It will turn on in 14 minutes. So it had been off for 16 minutes and I just let it go. And that's what ended up happening. So I think what we need to do is let it cool down, unplug it, and then turn it on again and see what happens. All right, let me update you in a minute here. Sorry, I guess I should point out, what was I going to do before this thing got a high temp alarm? I was going to adjust the blower, the voltage, the blower voltage, and that would let me make it go 5-speed fan on the number 1 level. Like I can turn the voltage up. Voltage is what controls the speed of these motors. Just like in a car, there's a blower motor which which blows the air out of your vents. But then you have something called a blower motor resistor in a lot of cases, and that is what allows you to control the speed from your dash. And they allow you to do that in this screen. If you saw quickly before the alarm went off, go back and pause it, you can see all the voltage, 95, 100, 105, 110. So I was going to go down to the 1 speed and turn that up the highest it can go and see if the fan turns on. And maybe it's a computer problem, or does the fan actually work? That's what I was going to do there. And we still might do that. The next thing I thought was something was interesting that really confused me before the alarm went off, but I didn't say it because I was still trying to process it. Let's get this thing focused. What you see right here on the screen, it even says it now, is that it says the temp is 67 in here. Well, it is not 67. In fact, before when I started this thing, I actually saw 60. And it just went up 7 degrees. Why did it go up 7 degrees? Because this thing right now is screaming hot because it wasn't exhausting. And it heated up. There's the temperature sensor right there. So just the heat coming off this thing, just the heat coming off this unit changed the temp sensor to think that it's 67 in here. Meanwhile, I mean, it's probably 61. So that is that's something interesting that I noticed, and I just processed it just now after I turned the camera off. Okay, let's get this unplugged. Let's get it cooled off, and then we'll start it again, and we'll see if it resets itself. Hopefully it does. All right, I had this thing off for a while. It's still pretty hot. Man, you can just feel the heat coming off this thing, and it's never like this. It's really interesting. When this thing is off, and this thing could be off for 10 minutes. You open this thing up, it's barely hot. It really is. This thing has now been off for half an hour, and you can just, I never opened the door. You can just feel the heat coming off this. It even says it's still 65. Yeah, it is not 65 in here, I can tell you that. I bet you if we look over at this thermostat on this side, I bet you this thing says it's somewhere in the 50s. Oh my God, look at that. Is that like 56? Ah. Yeah, that's so we still got it. We probably should still let this cool off for a little while here. All right, I'll get back to you. All right, we got this on 1 speed. Okay. Hard to tell, these dirty windows, but we got exhaust coming out. We got a flame. Now, this box is gonna start to heat up. And once it gets to the right temp, then hopefully we get the fan to turn on. Yep, we got a problem. So right now is when the fan should turn on. And I think you heard the system. The system stopped putting out the exhaust. Yeah, well, fan didn't turn on. Okay, so let's go and do that thing that I wanted to do before. Now, we take this 95 and then we click into it and then we raise it. Nothing. So we got a motor problem here. We got a motor problem. All right. Well, that's it. The first problem that I've had with this now. Now man, oh man. Gonna have to, well, I'm gonna turn this thing off so we don't high temp again. And I'm gonna have to swap this one with the one downstairs, which has got a fraction of the hours on it. Yeah, I have that one right over there. If you saw my review, my wood stove versus pellet stove review, I was sitting in front of this one right here. We're gonna have to get that one out of there and bring it up here. This is, the only good thing is that it happened on a Friday. So now, tomorrow morning, first thing, I guess I gotta do that. All right, well, I guess I will, I guess I'll make that part of this video. All right, geez. First issue. So I'll swap this with the one downstairs, get the more reliable one, the newer one up here, and I'll order a fan motor for this thing. I assume that's the problem. I can pull it and just test it. I mean, it's really a very easy thing to do. So, all right, let's move this thing tomorrow morning. All right, the best thing that you can do is that you got to put a 2x4 there because you have the outputs and the input there that are sticking out. So if you put a 2x4 on the bottom, it spaces it out just enough to clear it. And then you can take this controller off where you can kind of go off-centered. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm going off-center. But this controller is really only 2 screws. If you wanted to be safe, you could do that. It looks like I got a little more room. I could have squeezed it over, but it's fine. I've done this a million times. So let's head down. All right, I took the good one out of here, and I just put an old empty bag of pellets. You stuff it in there, it expands a little. This time, instead of going down these stairs, going down the stairs is easy. Going up them is impossible because these lips. This thing is heavy. I mean, it's not a wood stove, but it is heavy, especially if you got a few pellets in it. The other one I emptied, but this one got a good 10 pounds in here, so that's not ideal. So we're going to go around. There's the ram. So we'll go around, and I'm building that deck, not on camera. But yeah, and I ran out of time, but I got to just do the stairs and then close these sides off so you don't see it. Okay, forget about that. Let's get this out of here. All right, we got this one in, and would you believe this? This thing doesn't start now. You can't make this up, right? This is, you say, oh, he's doing this for video. No, I am not doing this for a video. In fact, I'm a big fan of the Castle Serenity Pellet Stove, but now I got 2 broken ones at the same exact time. Now, here's what's happening with this one. You start it, pellets drop, the igniter is on, right? The igniter is on. You can see it from this side. You see it heating up, but we can't get a flame. Now, there's a couple different scenarios here when you don't have a flame if you're dropping pellets. The first can be you got bad pellets. They're too wet. These are fine. These pellets are good. So we don't have a problem there. The next thing, obviously, is the igniter, right? Well, the first thing is probably you should check. You should look through the side and see if the igniter is going. You'll see it glowing red. It's so obvious. If you don't see it, then it's the igniter. I have ignition. Now, here is something that I just tested. I did it off camera because I really wasn't sure what was going on, and I was actually a little bit frustrated that this thing doesn't work. So I was just like acting without thinking. So what I did was I got some MAP gas, right? And I ignited the pellets in there to try and get it started. I was like, I don't know, maybe the igniter is not heating up all the way. I don't know. So I got the MAP gas in there. I lit the pellets on fire, and they immediately went out. There was a big flame, and then it just, poof, it went out. I closed the door, and smoke came out of this. That's the intake. And it was on. You know what I mean? I turned it on, and I lit the flame myself, and it came out of the intake, which shouldn't happen. Smoke should come out the exhaust. So we got a possible issue. There's 2 things. One is that this pipe could be completely jammed up. It's not. Or the exhaust fan is not turning on. The exhaust fan should turn on right away. It immediately is supposed to create airflow. So I'm going to take this side off, and we're going to look at this fan and see if it turns on. We'll get a good look at the glow plug. At the igniter. So let's take this off. I actually had to watch my review video and see if the fan, this exhaust fan, is supposed to turn on right away. It is. It's supposed to turn on right away. Oh, this is interesting. Will we be able to tell if it turns on? Yes. Yeah, we'll be able to tell because this. Oh. Kind of stiff. Gotta make sure that we don't electrocute ourselves here. But all right, so let's get this thing turned on. And oh, it says it needs 7 minutes to. I'm just unplugging it right now. I turned it on, and it said, and it'll start in 7 minutes. So we'll just do this. You can unplug it and bypass that. Not a good idea to do all the time, but we're testing. This is testing purposes. All right. Now, right there, you see that red wire? That is the igniter. And you can see it because it has a little viewing spot right there. You see the bolt, you see the red wire, you see the bolt holding it in, and just to the right of that is like just a little window where you can see if it turns on. And you will see it pretty much, in the next 30 seconds get bright red. Now already we have an issue here because I think that this fan should be on. You know what I'm saying? Like, this fan should turn, but it's not. Now the question is it power or is it the motor? That part we don't know. I guess the only way to really know is by pulling this motor and replacing it with the one from the other pellet stove, I guess, right? It looks like they make it pretty easy, which is kind of scary. It's wing nuts. And that's it. So what's happening is that since I don't have airflow, right? There's no airflow, it can't create the flame. All right, so I'm going to just double check that we actually have power to these wires. I got 6.5 volts DC. So we got power. Something I just noticed, I hit this, just barely touched it, and look at that thing spin. Spins way easier than that other one. So very easy, 4 wing nuts with their screws attached to the wing nut. These things were pretty tight, but it's not terrible. This is dirty, but you know, it is what it is. I guess I could just go into the shop and blow it off with some air. I'll do that first, and then we'll go up, take the other one out, and put this one in and see what happens. And I guess I don't even really need to install it. I just need to, well, yeah. All I need to do is just connect the wires to it and then hit the button. And if we see the fan, then we're good. Let's do that right now. Forget blowing this thing off. Let's double check it. Well, it works because I just went to go, this thing is still in shutdown mode from when I was testing it before. And as soon as I touch this thing, see? So we are good to go. Let's pull this one. We'll clean this one off. And I guess we'll have a working pellet stove again, thankfully. And we need to order a new one of these. And we need to order a new blower motor for the other one. Obviously, if I would have known this was going to happen, I would have just pulled the blower motor from this one and not moved them. But hey, man, would you believe this nonsense? Okay, see ya. Well, Castle is off the hook on this one. This is my fault. Right there. How about that? This whole thing was filled up. Let me do, wow, this is my fault. Big time. Look at that. These electric motors are tough, so it's possible that it's not broken and it just couldn't spin. So the only way to tell would be to hook up these wires again. Let's do that. I have to say, like, and that's why it was spinning so, look, now it spins totally easily. My fault. This one was my fault. It makes sense too, because this thing, this pellet stove barely was used and it's pretty new. It's only like maybe 4 years old or something like that. So my fault completely. Clearly, that thing was just full. I should have cleaned it out a zillion years ago, it seems like. So this thing is really hot too, because it's been trying to work. So the fact that it's hot means that it was working. So I bet you this thing works. Yep, I bet you if I hit this button right now, this thing is gonna work. Let's see what happens. I bet you $10 right now that this thing is gonna work. We'll turn it on and then we'll pretty much immediately turn it off because we're gonna see it spin. Boom, there it is. My fault. All right, let's get this thing fixed up, and man, oh man, it's kind of, you know, I feel better now. I mean, that it's my fault and it's not the Castle's fault. I'll tell you, buddy, I was bad-mouthing you there for a second. You've been great. All right, let's get this thing fixed up. All right, I guess this is the moment of truth now. We're going to turn this thing on and see what happens. I got it plugged in. The pot's empty. We got good pellets. Oh, that's loud.
What's that sound?
What is that sound? Well, nothing, I guess. Who knows what that was? Haven't seen McAllister on the channel in a while. And Sam, and the dogs. This is a different video. We already know that the fan is on right there. It's spinning. Maybe it's tough to tell, but you could probably, right there. That's spinning. That wasn't happening before. And that thing was smoking hot when I was touching it because it was overheating because it couldn't spin because of everything was filled in there. So I would say that there's pretty much a guarantee this thing's gonna start. So we'll just, as soon as it starts, we'll just close it up. We'll close it up, buddy, right, with the screwdriver?
Yeah.
There it is. That was it. That was the problem. Feels good to see this. So the problem was my fault. You always got to check that. You always got to check it. It seems easier to just remove that fan than it does to pull the unit away. So I may do that in the future. Just open this side up. I don't know, maybe every season, maybe I'll do that. Because I've never done that before. So yeah, maybe every season that's going to be part of my cleaning regimen that I do. I do like a total clean of the entire thing. And I'll probably do that every year now. So this is good. Now, this is probably a very long video. The other unit, the other pellet stove, the original one that I bought, the one that's 8 years old, that still needs a blower motor. So I'm going to order that, and we'll do that in another video. All right, man, this is a long one, and I recorded it all on my phone, so I apologize for any shakiness. I just needed to do it on the fly. That's it. Okay, everyone. Catch you on the next one.